Let's talk about energy and the impact that's having on domestic consumption, at least in East Africa. Fuel prices in Kenya have risen to the highest ever level. A litre of petrol now is retailing at 217 shillings and 36 cents. That's roughly $1.45. Now, the rapid hikes in prices at the pump has triggered lower consumption levels, and that in turn has also led to a decline in tax revenues by around $7 million, at least in the 12 months until June. CGTN's Wanja Mungai spoke with an energy expert, Patrick Obath, to understand what this implies for the Kenyan economy.
Mr. Patrick Obath, energy expert in Kenya, thank you so much for making time to talk to us. Now, fuel consumption in Kenya has dropped to a 5-year low, of course, except for during COVID time when there was a lockdown. Now, motorists prefer to keep their cars at home and, of course, probably use public means. What is your assessment of this situation?
If you look at the evolution over the last couple of years, the taxation on a lot of products in the country have gone up. So you find that in the average household basket, the prices of almost everything has gone up independently of fuel. And as a result of that, people have to make choices. And the first choice that goes obviously is your alcohol and stuff like that, which people don't talk about. And then the next thing that goes obviously is fuel consumption. So I think the fuel consumption is a bellwether for the economy, that the economy is not healthy at the moment. And the consumption of fuel is an indication that it is in a very bad state. And that can be attributed to several things. One is the international price of fuel, which is affecting almost everybody. And that is attributable to the Ukraine-Russia war. And then the various embargoes that have been placed on Russian oil. But the other aspect we've got to look at is that the taxes that the government imposes have increased as well on the price of fuel. And with also the increase of VAT from 8 to 16%.
So what are some of the measures the government can take to address the higher prices?
The first one is obviously reduce the amount of tax that is in there. What is in the control of the government? The price of fuel internationally, the government has done its best by getting into this arrangement with the Middle East, which is almost a double-edged sword, because you've got a fixed contract price for a certain period of time. Now, if you fixed that price and the price of fuel globally goes up, then you're smiling. But if the price of fuel globally goes down and you're faced with that higher fuel price, then you're paying a premium that you shouldn't be paying. Personally, I don't think it was the right move to go on a hedging basis, to get on a fixed price contract for a 6 to 8 month period. Because oil prices fluctuate and they can go up, they can go down, seriously. And when they go down, you're left with high prices. The second is that if we get into term contracts with shippers, so that we have because our consumption is known, and the movement of ships between here and the Middle East, which is where our product comes from, is known, and there are so many ships per month that come in. If you can contract long-term ships that will just be going backwards and forwards, and these guys have got guaranteed business, then effectively you can also begin to reduce the price of fuel coming into the country by reducing the cost of transportation coming in. So those are two ways of looking at the cost externally. But internally, it must be that the government's appetite for tax has to be cut a little bit.
And is it a good time for Kenya to switch to electric cars?
I think Kenya, because of the good story that it can tell, is ready for it. We have an electricity production that is over more than 85% green, which is either through hydro, solar, geothermal, and wind. And all that is green energy. So charging batteries using green energy is a plus all around the world. What needs to happen is that to make it adopted much quicker, to make the adoption much quicker in the country, we need to remove taxes completely, or minimize taxes on electric cars and the batteries that go with them and the charging stations. If we can do that, then the adoption will be much quicker. And what will need to happen is that there are two things. There are systems which you can do what is called battery swaps, and you can begin to have the current petrol stations that we have being battery swap centers. And therefore it means that they, when you have a certain size of battery, you just go in, you give them, you pay a certain amount for the charge, and you put it into your vehicle, and you can move on. You don't have to wait. There are those that will require you to charge, and for people who are commuting around town, you can commute during the day, or when you get home, you just have a plug-in station, and you charge your car overnight, and then the following day you can use it. And the range of vehicles now is getting to about 300 kilometers. Now, at that kind of level, daily running around the city is easy. And even going from here to Kisumu, if you had a battery swap halfway through, or down to Mombasa, to Ndei, or in Nakuru, it will be quite easy to use them. So I think, yes, it is time we began to think about how to make the use of electric vehicles much easier in this country.